Actually, it was my wife that got me involved in prison ministry. Renee got involved with Kindway, and specifically the Embark program. And so it was actually at a fundraiser that I was her plus one, and we went to the fundraiser. And I'll never forget that we were seated next to one of her mentees, and the mentee had brought her son. And he's looking around the room, and he says, were all these people incarcerated? And the mom says, oh, no, no, no. You know, some of them are volunteers, others are donors to the cause, and so forth. And I reflected on that, and I thought, wow, if this is an organization that can break down those kind of barriers, I said, I want to be part of that. I guess what appealed to me most about prison ministry was this was an opportunity to serve the forgotten. And I said, that's not right. There's something very wrong about that. You know, they're people. Admittedly, they made a mistake. That's what got them into prison in the first place. But nonetheless, they are God's people as much as I'm God's person. And so one of the things that I like about the Embark program is the fact that there is this, okay, you're here, you're now in prison, you did something to get you here, but that's not what we're about. We're about looking forward. And what can we do to break down these barriers? And part of what I like about it is a collaborative effort. It's not something that we're doing for those that are incarcerated. They are in large part doing for themselves. We're there to enable that to happen, and I love that aspect of it. That's important to me. I like when people feel enabled then to pursue their own dreams or their own ambitions. And as you know, I'm now teaching electronics up at Marion, and where that came about actually is rather organic. It was an individual within the prison who was knowledgeable of electronics, and he was mentoring one of the other guys that was in the Embark program. That fellow was due to come out, and but he had been mentoring him and kind of informally. And I was in a conversation with them at one of our Navigator gathering meetings, and they were telling me what they were doing, and I said, well, I teach electronics. And at that point they said, would you mind teaching here? And what's been wonderful is the guy who was mentored, he actually was, you've seen the picture on the dispatch. Brandon was the guy that I'm hugging there, and that was such a great impromptu photo. But it really is me, and it's Brandon, and Brandon has continued to do well. In fact, I was in a position to be able to talk to my CEO of a small startup company that I had been hired into, and we hired Brandon, and he's been now working for us for several years and doing very, very well. Part of what I love about this program is that the individuals that come out, so many times I tell them, you're paving a road. We're building a road together, but the guys in particular, they're paving a road for the next one that's going to walk down that road. And Brandon did exactly that. He paved a road for Lenny when he came out, that we again had an opportunity, and I went to my leadership in the company and said, if you like Brandon, you're going to like this guy. He's been in my electronics classes, he's a sharp guy, and we hired him. And Lenny has actually taken things to the next step. I mean, he is now one of our field service techs. What that means is he's the face of our company. So here's a guy who was previously incarcerated. He's gotten out, he's done well, he got some footing, and now look at him, he's the face of our company. That's just amazing to me. And he has the technical horsepower to do the job, but he's interacting with the customers, and he's installing our products at various customer sites all over the United States. And I'm looking at this and saying, here's the kind of opportunities that exist, and we have other partnerships with other companies, And my message to companies that aren't involved with us is, you're missing an opportunity by not hiring people associated with the Embark program. These are folks that have been vetted. In cases of the guys that I'm specifically working with, not only have they been vetted, but they're also being trained to take on these technology-oriented tasks. And whether it's making measurements or filling reports or working in processes, it really doesn't matter. The skill sets, they transfer to lots of other jobs. It doesn't have to be just strictly electronics. And so part of what my message is in general to particularly to employers is these are great guys. They are individuals that are going to work for you. They have something to prove. And that's been one of the messages that I've brought to my leadership is I would rather them prove themselves in our company rather than somewhere else. And it has just paid off tremendously. I love what I do. I enjoy, believe it or not, going into Marion. Even my son, I was on the phone with him the other day, and I was preparing to go up and teach, and his comment was, "Well, go have fun in prison." And he paused and he said, "No, that's an odd statement." But he's right. I do have fun going into prison. I do enjoy what it is that I'm doing, and I don't regard it as a sacrifice. I feel good working with the men that I do work with, and the aha moments and just that camaraderie that we build, and I think in general the hope that each of us actually develops, the hope that someday they will be released, and what's waiting for them here, and there's a whole community out here that's waiting for them, and we're trying to smooth that pathway as much as possible. I realize that we can't do it for all of them, but on the other hand, not everyone has been called. And I recognize that as well. And even Jesus struggled with that he reached out to so many, but how many of them actually came to believe in him? And I've got to believe that the men that we deal with on our day-to-day basis, they have been called, and they do believe, and they see the pathway ahead of them. And in fact, it is glorious.